Hey, how's it going? Gareth James here for MTT Poker School, back today with part 2 of this early game live play footage from the first Sunday of Scoop. If you haven't seen part 1 yet, then I'll post a link top right of your screen right now. Let's get back into the action. Okay, so a couple of spots here. Then we open with ace 10 of clubs from the hijack for around 27 bigs. We're going to open queen jack off in the top right as well. Okay, so let's pause it here. So monotone board, again, I think it's fine to go ahead and bet small. About 30% pot is fine. We have the jack of hearts, which is pretty good. Blocks him from having some flushes. You know, he's defending with all the jack X of hearts hands in the big blind, so we block his very strong hands here. Bottom right, I think it's fine to go ahead and check, but we'll have a look at this in simple three-way in a minute. And then bottom left, I think we can check, or we can actually raise small. Yeah, I think we want to have a raising range here. I don't think we need to just, jam or check. So let's see what I did. Okay, went for the small raise. It's obviously a bluff. So top right, we're going to be going for the small bet. Okay, 6 of diamonds then on the turn. He's going to definitely have some 6x hands here, but he's also just going to have some, one heart hands. He could also have, some combo draws here. So I think barreling the turn is reasonable. But we'll have a look at this in PIO just to see. Bottom right then, the ace 10 of clubs. We're just continuing to check. We have a pretty nice hand to check call on the flop or the turn. Maybe even play it more aggressively with 2 overs and the nut flush draw. But yeah, again, we'll have a look at this in a minute. And now on the 2 of spades, we might even have just enough showdown value here just to go ahead and continue to check. I don't think it really makes too much sense to bet. So I'm just going to check again, I think. Top right then, we went for the big bet. So yeah, I think we want to look at this in PIO and see, what sort of hands are we actually trying to target here. Okay, and we did have the best hand with the ace 10 of clubs. So let's have a look in PIO at that top spot, queen jack off, and then have a look at the three-way spot with ace 10 of clubs. Okay, so we want to go ahead and bet fairly frequently here. You can see we're checking around 23% and betting the rest, 77%. Queen jack off then with a heart is definitely betting a lot more frequently than without. So we have more equity, but we also have a good blocker. You see that he doesn't really do much raising even versus the small bet in this spot. And then the turn was a 6, and he checks. So queen jack off. Now you can see that with a heart, we can continue. It's not full frequency, so it's not something maybe that we want to do all the time. But the sizing looks good, and the overall sort of idea behind the strategy looks good. But let's just have a look to see what we're actually trying to fold out here. So we're trying to fold out some similar hands to ours that, which is doesn't make too much sense, right? Because we're ahead of a lot of these hands, but I guess they have some equity. Like 10-9 has a gut shot plus outs to improve to a pair. We can get some king X hands to fold, the weaker, of these hands where the heart is the lower card. So like king 10 with the 10 of hearts is going to fold in this spot. So we do actually get some king X hands to fold. We're similarly going to get some ace X hands to fold in this spot. Ace X without a heart definitely goes ahead and folds here. So I just think it's really important to see, right, what are we actually trying to fold out? What are we trying to achieve with our bet? So I think it's good to sort of know, sort of intuitively, that this should be a continue, right? This should be a double barrel. But if you can go one step further and say, right, these are the hands that we get to fold out now, then it makes a lot more sense. So, we're bluffing here, but what hands can we, that are better than our hand can we get to fold? So we've got some ace X hands here. We've got some 3X hands that now have to fold. We've got some, king X and ace highs with a gut shot that have to fold. And we've got some, some pretty strong ace X hands here that would have called the flop versus the small bet, but now have to go ahead and fold. And then we're also denying equity to some hands down here as well. Okay, so now let's look at the simple three-way for the bottom right spot with the ace 10 of clubs, where we open from the hijack. Okay, so this is our range, and you can see ace 10 of clubs is checking quite a lot of the time in this spot. So you've got hearts and diamonds with no piece of the board that are checking 100%, spades, a backdoor flush draw, and ace 10 of clubs is checking 85%. So if we look at the how often it bets small, you can see spades bets small 5% and clubs bet small 15%. And then there's some big betting with the ace 10 of spades in this spot. So, whilst the 10x blocks hands like jack 10, 10, 8, as I said, it also blocks the floats for imposition, right? So when we bet, they're not going to have ace jack of spades, ace queen of spades to continue. So, blocking our opponent's continues is pretty useful in this spot. So we did check, and our opponent checks back, and you can see a lot of their range is sort of high card heavy. The middling parts that connect with the board are going to be betting fairly often. On the 4 of diamonds turn, then we can have another look at ace 10 of clubs, and you can see that it's really not going for a check now on the turn. Let's have a look at this. So it's betting small on the turn. So the turn is where maybe we made a mistake. We can just go ahead and bet now. So I mentioned earlier about, the buttons range is very high card heavy. The middling parts that connected with the board would have played it more aggressively on the flop. So at this stage, we have a good draw, we have 2 overs, but we can also get some better hands to fold now. Those better over cards or better hands that we can deny equity to, we can get them to fold on the turn with a bet. So yeah, I think we can definitely bet small or bet big, as you can see with ace 10 of clubs here. Bet big 20%, bet small 80%. So yeah, I don't think we should have checked. We obviously have plenty of hands to go ahead and check in this spot. And interestingly, ace jack of clubs and ace queen of clubs and ace king of clubs just have enough equity against our opponent's range to just go ahead and check. But yeah, ace 10 of clubs then, and I guess let's have a look. Yeah, ace 8 of clubs as well is another one that we want to go ahead and mix between the betting small and betting big. So we have have a great draw, and we can get better hands to fold. Okay, yeah. So you can see the hands are like ace queen, ace jack, ace queen, ace jack. Let's just have a quick look. If we do decide to bet, if we bet small, you can see that ace jack off, ace queen suited, ace jack suited are all folding now. The only ones that continue is the clubs, and we block that, so he can't have those hands. So you can just see some, the hands that we're targeting. And again, this is very similar to the PIO spot. If we think through like what are we actually trying to target here, what better hands can we get to fold, then that's the beauty of the software, and it allows us to see what we're actually targeting. And there are some stronger hands that fold too. You've got some pairs, pocket twos here, some 3x that might start folding. Yeah, so all looks pretty good. So yeah, we should have bet the turn, and I think that's a pretty good lesson. Okay, and then on the river, you can see we just do a lot of checking 91%. Ace 10 of clubs. You can see here we should land on this river with 1% of ace 10 of clubs, because we should have bet the turn either for a small or a big size. But if we do land here, clearly I just rolled the 1% that we should check on the turn. We should, just check the river as well. So I think that's a pretty interesting hand. I think it's really good to see, where the mistakes were. I think multi-way is a spot where you can definitely gain an edge by running these sims in a multi-way solver. I think a lot of players now are studying with PIO or simple post-flop software that can do GTO solutions for heads-up spots. And I think that, PokerSolver or simple three-way are really good for multi-way, because you can start to see what the strategies should look like. So yeah, I think you can definitely gain an edge by running some stuff in the multi-way solver. And if you're interested in any of the simple software, I've got a link in the description down below for 10% off all of their software. Just follow the link below and get the discount. Okay, we folded pocket fours there. We've got 2 players to get through. There's no small blind, so there's almost less money to win or to go after in that spot. So I think the fold is fine. Probably going to open Queen Jack off here from the low jack. We get 3-bet, pretty big sizing here for for our stack size. We definitely can't continue here. So 2 things are going on here. He's made a pretty big 3-bet size. Now this just might be his standard 3-bet size for this stack size, but it seems to me, I would go 3.5x at much deeper, like 80 big blinds plus. So yeah, I think that if he wants us to continue, he would probably go smaller. He's also 3-betting through a 15 big blind stack in the big blind, so he's always continuing if the big blind decides to jam, which strengthens his range somewhat. So I think it's just always worth looking to see what the player's behind, because even if he hasn't he hasn't thought about it, oh, the big blind's really short, he's really just looking at his own hand, and he doesn't mind if the big blind shoves, because he has a hand strong enough to go with. So it's almost like subconsciously he's has a stronger range because he's 3-betting through through a short stack. Bottom left, then we limp with 8-6 suited. I think that's okay. We're going to fold Queen Jack off. Flop then Jack 4 deuce. Again, multi-way. We'll have a look at this in simple 3-way. I think we could just go ahead and bet. We've got some pretty nice turn cards. Spade, a 5, 7, 3 even, and then 8 and the 6 improves our hand against their 4x and 2x. So I think it's fine just to go ahead and min bet, but we'll have a look in simple 3-way, see if that is correct. Okay, so this is the limping range for 15 big blinds from the button, and you can see 8-6 suited just wants to go ahead and bet small. We've got it 1.17 here, but min bet is absolutely fine. And we're betting quite a lot. We're betting some big cards here. The top of the range, and top pair is betting fairly frequently, and then sort of hands at the bottom of this range as well. So yeah, we're betting fairly frequently. 8-6 looks to me to be a good bet here, and I don't think there's too much more to say. We're doing some checking with some king highs and some ace highs. So yeah, we do have a little bit of a checking range, but with these hands that just benefit from getting much better hands to fold straight away, we can just go ahead and bet. So you can see here the small blind. This is his complete range after we limp on the button, and you can see that we just get a lot of better hands to go ahead and fold now. And to be fair, I just don't think versus a min bet that population in the small blind here is actually defending as wide as they should do. So having king high, king 9 here with a backdoor flush draw, I just don't think that they're continuing with those hands. And this is the big blinds range, and you can see obviously he continues with his 2x, 4x, his jack x, and again some some big cards with some backdoors. But we do again get some some better hands to fold here, some queen highs, 10 highs, 9 highs as well. So again, always look to what you're actually trying to fold out and what you're trying to achieve with your bet. Okay, bottom right then, we're going to be opening king queen off. And bottom left, we decide to fold the queen jack offsuit. Ace 4 suited top left, we're going to fold versus the short stack open. I'm sure calling is, probably making a little bit of money, but not enough for me to want to call there. Okay, so we open then from early position, and the big blind calls. Flop is great for us, great for our hand, great for our range. We can just go ahead and bet pretty small here. And he calls. The turn is the 3 of hearts. Now, when he defends from the big blind, I don't think he's going to have too many 3x. I mean, he shouldn't really have any offsuit 3x. So he really just has the suited 3s in this spot. Okay, but he chooses to lead here. I think Yeah, let's say the board was king 9-4, king 9-3 instead, and the turn was a 9, and then he leads. I think it's more believable that he can have he can have a 9, right? But in this spot, he doesn't have too many 3x. So I think we can continue. The question is whether we continue by raising or by calling. I think a lot of players are starting to see that through solver work, that when the turn card pairs the bottom or the middle card, that they can do some leading, right? But I think that only makes sense if he actually has, a decent number of 3x in his range. So I don't think he does. But he, the range of hands that he can now lead might include, 5-6 or 5 deuce, ace 2, ace 5, some flush draws, 7-6, 7-5, something along those lines. So it'd be good to see in Pio if that's the case. Is he supposed to be leading those hands? If he is, then we should raise because we can raise for value. And yeah, he just doesn't have too many 3x. So let's just play through the rest of the hand. I think I just called here, but I'd like to see a raise instead, I think. I'm having a look at turn donks and didn't clearly see any information. Okay, so now he chooses to check, and, he can definitely check some 3x. But I think a lot of 3x will also just go for value, right? Because we can still have, king x with a spade, feel like we have a strong hand with a decent blocker. We can have aces with a spade. So I just don't think that he's going to be checking a 3 too often. Maybe he has a hand like 4-3, Jack 3, maybe even King 3. Yeah, I guess it's like King 3 of diamonds is his only real combo of King 3, given that we see all the other cards. So yeah, I don't think that he has much in this spot. So now the question is, can we value bet, and what do we get value from? So if he's decided to lead a king on the turn and now check it, then we can get value from that. But that's really the only kind of hand that we get called by, that we beat. He could still have a 3, he could still have a flush, deciding to play it like this. So yeah, I just don't think that we necessarily want to value bet here. But let's have a look in Pio and see what it says. Okay. So the first thing to look at then is the fact that we can actually go bigger than just having a small quarter pot c-bet size. It does favor the smaller size most of the time, but some other bets are happening. And king queen off, you can see that we had a spade in our hand. It does actually like, the half pot and the 3/4 pot as well. So that's a, pretty interesting thing to see. 3 of hearts then. Okay, so he really doesn't do that much leading. Let's just have a look at the runouts comparison. Okay, yeah, I think it's just the nature of the board where he's not going to do too much leading on the turn, because he doesn't have, too many 4x or 3x hands. Let's just have a look. So he has all the suited ones, right? But there's literally no, apart from ace 4 and ace 3, obviously, offsuit combos. I guess 5-3 down here is in there. I guess that's the one offsuit combo. But there's a decent number of suited ones as well. But you can see that he's really not doing too much leading. But he is supposed to lead with some draws here. 6-5 is the most obvious one. He can lead some king x hands in this spot, and then some flush draws and things like that. So with the king queen off, you can see that without the spade we should be raising a lot more frequently. But even with the spade, you can see this bottom left. I'll just do this. Just see it here where my mouse is right now. With the spade, we can raise as well. So, I think calling is probably fine. It says there, 20% of the time. But raising here for value and getting those draws, or getting value from those draws is pretty good. So the jack of spades on the river, and you can see that he really shouldn't be checking very much at all now. He should be betting very frequently for a small or a big size. But he did choose to check, and we shouldn't land on this river with too many king queen off, which is why you can only see a tiny bit here. But if we do, then we want to bet, bet big, or so a big size or a pot size on the river. But let's just have a quick look at what we're actually getting called by. And I guess this is a problem that now we're down a branch of the game tree that really shouldn't happen, because he shouldn't be checking, after leading the turn that he does pretty infrequently, he shouldn't be checking the river very often. I think it's like 20%, right? Yeah, so it just doesn't happen very much, so it's hard to see. Okay, so if we do this, we can kind of see what we get called by. You can see that there's, we get called by some King X, we get called by some Jack X. You can see here Ace Jack and Queen Jack, and some Jack X hands down here. Maybe some 4X, I just don't think that's happening in practice. But the problem is that, we do this, we can see that, he really doesn't land on the river with too many combos at all. So you kind of got to take the solver solution with a pinch of salt. I think if he is leading the turn with, King 9, King 8, King 7, then we get value from that hand. Also, it's pretty tough to know, what hands does he lead on the turn that we now get value from. I mean, he shouldn't be checking the river with a value hand now that beats us, or a hand that beats us. So we should, in theory, be able to go for some value, but I just don't see enough population leading here with, leading the turn with King 10, King 9, King 8, that kind of thing. And he's not going to lead the turn and then call the river with a hand like 6-4 of diamonds. So I think checking back is reasonable. I think obviously if you're playing against a really strong player, I mean, you would have raised the turn already to get value, and I think we should have raised the turn as well. So yeah, we just don't land on this river with this hand too often to worry about it too much. Okay, that's going to do it for part 2. Don't forget to like and subscribe. I've been Gareth James for MTT Poker School. I'll be back soon with part 3, but until then, take care, and I'll see you soon. Bye-bye.